If you just watch commercials, like capitalism is built on, or at least our current state of capitalism, I guess it's debatable of capitalism as a whole, but it's based on this idea of I want to make you feel terrible so that I can sell you a solution.
Yeah, that's true. You know, that's basically the news. When you look at the news, it's all very negative, and I think it just makes it easier to control people, perhaps, if there's a little bit of a state of fear. So in a more positive light,
Let's talk tales.
A voice for business ethics, camaraderie, and connection, and revolutionary leadership and entrepreneurship. Today's Tales with Taylor guest is the founder and CEO of PodFox Media, a podcast production and strategic consultation company, and the host of the podcast Big Brave Business. It's Sarah Heeter. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me, Taylor.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. So, you know, growing up, podcasting wasn't a thing. So I don't think you grew up going, one day I'm going to help people have podcasts. So
True.
Tell me the tale of how you got started in podcasting.
I'm going to level with you, Taylor. I didn't even want excitedly to go into podcasting when I went into podcasting. So no, but I do love to talk. And I really dreamed of speaking on stages from the time I was aware that was a thing. So first I wanted acting, and then the first time I was introduced to like kind of an inspirational, motivational speaker, I was like, that's a job. So the only person who's not surprised that I made a whole career out of talking is my mom.
Did you get in trouble in school for talking next to people?
I did not get in trouble at all, ever. I was like such a good kid, such a good student, and but definitely got that note on report cards that I talk a lot.
Yeah, such a pleasure. Just, needs to talk a little less. Okay, very cool. So tell me too now, PodFox, what got you to choose, tell me the tale behind the name of that business.
Yeah, when I first went into entrepreneurship, I was coming off a layoff, and I really just did not have the energy to go back into new offices and interview and try to put myself out there. And then I was in like senior leadership before that. So the idea of like leading a team again and having to try to put my best self out there felt really overwhelming. So at the same time, though, I was the primary earner in my family of 5. My husband was a grad student at the time that I got laid off. So when I approached him and said, what if I try my own thing for a little while? There was also all of this pressure that like, I need to make money right away and it needs to work because we need to keep a roof over our kids' heads, right?
Yeah.
So to be honest, when I started my company, I couldn't think of a name that I liked, and I was like, it feels like a really big commitment. What am I committing to? Right. So I just didn't, and I just did business as Sarah K. Heeter until I met a prospective client who wanted to start a podcast about exit strategy for entrepreneurs who would start their companies with the end in mind. And she started explaining to me how she wanted to help people with an 8-year runway to be able to sell their companies. And just in the sales call about her podcast idea, I started thinking, well, I could never sell a company named after me. So I have to come up with a name. So I wanted it to kind of have a little bit of a similar, almost rhymey sound so that it had like, I wanted a snappiness. I wanted to have some kind of character I could work with in the branding. So we explored with a lot of different animals, but also I didn't want to have any kind of, underlying messaging that's negative with an animal. Animals have been used as insults for people in so many different contexts. So it was like, how are we going to do this? And what I liked about the fox, not only that it kind of goes with pod, but also because a fox is like wily and cunning. And so we like to work with people who don't necessarily feel invited to have a seat at the table, but they're going to find their way. They're going to find a way in. They'll build their own table if they have to. They're going to make their own seat right at the table. So
with some collaboration involved. When you think about a fox too, you typically don't really see you always see a fox with a pair. So typically you see foxes together.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, no, literally. So we have cameras all around our studio. So you better watch out. No, and we catch motion and motion detects. There's foxes around here. Downtown Mesa, there's foxes around here. So, yeah.
I love that. Yeah. That's such a clever way to think of it also.
Yeah, they're always like a companion. There's always like it's a two set normally. So it's not like a wolf situation where it's a huge pack, but they tend to have like that partner, you know? So, yeah, and you're like that partner for them.
Yeah. And I liked that I was not like a particular Fox lover or anything, and it really separates me from the brand, right? So it doesn't feel like me on paper. And I think this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs do when they decide they're going to start a business as like a sole proprietor or a service provider is, I want it to just feel like me. And especially when I named it Sarah K. Heeter, right? It's like, it was literally me. But there's a lot of association of your worth with your business's worth, and they are two totally separate entities, right? So I think it's really important for like my mental health as well, that it feels very separate. The branding, I like it, obviously, but it's not me on paper. It doesn't feel like something I would have picked per se to represent me. It represents the company.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly, and helps it be more sellable that way too, because it isn't.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Here's hoping.
Is that a goal? Is that your goal to sell it?
Yeah, ultimately. Ultimately, I hope to. I think, we're both members of NABO, National Association of Women Business Owners, and we had a event recently about selling your business. And I think I kind of learned from that event that I'm maybe a little bit further away from it than I hoped I would be. But that's okay. Gives me targets to work for, so it's fine.
That's so interesting, because one of my questions during that event was, when should you consider selling your business? And the answer was from the beginning, which is, I never have thought about selling the business, because I'm like, this is such a baby. It's my baby. I would never sell my child. But it's important to think about.
Well, and they say that statistically, it's a very specific demographic that's buying and selling most of the businesses, right? It's like white men over 55. So people who are younger, more dynamic, more diverse, we're definitely doing business. Yeah. But we don't build them with the intent to sell. And also, it's not just we don't know we can sell them, but also we're not making the decisions from the beginning to build it in a way that it's marketable to sell. So I think it's really important that in spaces like NABO, we're having conversations like that. I really value. And here.
Right, exactly. Yeah. No, and that's how we got connected, was through NABO. So the National Association of Women Business Owners, such a great organization. I know I've been a part of it for many years. And so definitely, if you're in the Valley and if you're a woman business owner and you're not a part of NABO, I highly advise you take a look at it. And so through having this podcast consultation company, I'm sure it became a no-brainer that you needed to have your own podcast. So tell me, what was the tale behind creating Big Brave Business? You could have done anything. You could have had any topic, any title.
Oh, and certainly it's not my first podcast. Okay. So my first podcast I started back in 2016, and it was actually about diversity and representation in film and television. So my husband is, he has his master's. He was a grad student when I got laid off.
He successfully did. There we go. That's good. Yes, hey, some people do not get that far. They quit. So there you go. At least he continued.
His master's is in film, American media. So we kind of blend our two passion areas there. And that was our first podcast. And honestly, a big part of that was just figuring out, like, how do you get a podcast online? Okay. And once we did that, it was like more and more people started asking me in my life, like, hey, can you help me do that? Until it showed up at my last 9 to 5 when I helped that company that I was working for start a podcast for their company. And when I left that company, they ended up becoming my first client. So I still worked with them for several years. We're on hiatus right now, but I still worked with them for several years. They podcasted for 6 years. So,
and that's really good, because you said, what's the average length of a podcast?
Yeah, 50% of podcasters quit before episode 11, and 90% of podcasters quit before 100. So Big Brave Business actually came from, I had that podcast originally. I ended up, my longest running podcast that I've personally hosted is actually called the Troop Leader Experience podcast for Girl Scout.
Troop Leader Experience?
Troop Leader.
Troop Leader.
Yep, it's for Girl Scout troop leaders.
Cute.
Yep. And I just kind of realized, like, I would like to have one about business, because I feel like a lot of business podcasts that used to be out there, it's more diverse now, but I feel like the business podcasters that used to be out there were really like influencer-y and not kind of real life to just be a person and like your mortgage is due or your rent is due or whatever, and you just like need to make money. It didn't feel like that. It's, you know, so I wanted it to be like real talk, you know, real advice. And I had a co-host. We liked the alliteration. We liked the idea of this was a big, brave thing for both of us. And I'm sure you can relate, like to pursue entrepreneurship as your primary source of earning, as your livelihood, and especially with a family. It's like that is a big, brave thing to do. And some of these kind of influencers who make multiple millions of dollars and they've been doing it for so many years and they are teaching people how to get started, and it's like they don't have any memory of what it's like to be at the beginning. But my former co-host and I, we very much do. So that's where that name came from. And we wanted it to be this approach of like, you can sit with us, you know, like we're having real conversations. But she ended up leaving the show just because it's just another thing to have to do, as you are, I'm sure, finding real quickly. It's a lot of work to do a podcast. So it was a lot of extra time for her. So she stepped away, and now I bring on guests instead.
Excellent. Well, guests make it really fun. I know I can say guests make it really fun. So can you give me an idea of like a conversation or a question that you may ask in your podcast?
Yeah. So sometimes people come with a specific topic in mind. So we'll talk about, you know, policy, or we'll talk about like white supremacy and marketing tactics, or we'll talk about self-care, radical self-care for entrepreneurs and business owners. But when people come to me and they don't necessarily have a plan of what they want to talk about, we tend to start with one of two questions, which is either what's on your heart right now in your business, because there's always something. If we're being really big and brave about the thing, there's always something that's on your heart about business. Or it'll be, what does being big and brave in business look like for you right now? And, you know, we also all
I feel like that's probably like almost the same answer. You know, to be completely honest, I'm just like, okay, what would I say? Okay, I'm actually saying the same thing in my mind.
Well, I'm curious, what would being big and brave in your business look like right now?
Going W-2s. So,
that's a good one.
So we've been in business since July of 2014. And we've only, you know, the only W-2s per se are the two co-owners.
Yes.
And so we've been living the world of contracting, and we feel that, you know, we are finally ready to go into W-2 land, to have, you know, more consistent team members that, you know, not only can we know what their scheduled guarantee is going to be, they can then have the confidence that they're going to get taken care of and so forth. And so, you know, we've been so grateful to add great people to the team.
Yes.
I just want to keep them now. You know?
Yeah, I love that, and I totally can relate. Yes.
So that would be mine.
That's a good one.
Well, thank you for that. Thanks for that. So, well, tell me, what made you choose the particular color schemes that you did for your, you know, both your business? I feel like probably leaning on the fox colors, but also for Big Brave Business. What made you choose, you know, that nice pink kind of coral color and then the teal?
Yeah. So for PodFox, definitely wanted the fox to be central, right? So some kind of orange scheme was going to be part of that. Some warm side colors. We looked at really a bunch of different kind of directions, and we wanted it to feel fun and playful, but also still like, I don't know, it's serious business. Like you're doing something real, right? So we wanted it to be impactful. We work with a lot of high impact, like I want to make a difference type of people. We also didn't want it to feel stuffy, but we wanted it to feel mature. So it's finding that balance of like, it's not that I wouldn't work with kids, but I'm not marketing to kids, right? So people who are at a certain level of doing business or having influence, but also not like so corporate. Yeah. So it's finding that balance. And then for Big Brave Business, I had a co-host. So like, to be quite honest, it was just colors we both liked and could agree on.
There you go. You know, you got to surround yourself around colors you actually enjoy being around.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. Yeah. So tell me the tale of like one of your favorite recordings that you've done in Big Brave Business.
Oh my gosh, that feels like having to choose a favorite child. In season 1, when I had a co-host, she had an interesting backstory. She still has the same interesting backstory. When I had a co-host, she has this backstory of growing up in a very extreme religious environment that she described as a cult. And what we had learned in our friendship is that and actually my undergrad is in political science, and my like undergrad thesis was about cults and sects, and that's so random, but because of that like kind of background in education, I had already kind of seen that there's a lot of cult tactics that are used in this like influencer marketing, and I had noticed those trends. She noticed them because of her lived experience and her like unlearning of that. So we did a like series in season 1 where we unpacked that.
Can you give me an example? You know, I'm not familiar with cults, so.
Yeah, sure. So one of the easiest examples to use is Tony Robbins, because he's so well known that most people have at least some experience there.
Or opinions of him, yeah.
Sure. And Tony Robbins, part of the reason why he has the raving superfan community that he has is because the marketing tactics that he uses and the language that he uses in his speech, the ways that they do like a breaking down of who you are to like build you back up, the even specific activities that are kind of notorious at those kind of events, like walking on hot coals or glass or whatever, like those kind of things, those are the same tactics that are traditionally and historically used in cults, because psychologically it creates essentially like a trauma bond. And what you see is that people who learn from Tony Robbins then start implementing that even in as little of things as what kind of language they're using on social media or in their email marketing. That's where a lot of those kind of slippery slope tactics come from, like sell to someone's pain points. So at face value, that just psychologically works, right? Like we know from a sales perspective that is effective. When you tell someone, basically, you find the part that hurts, you poke it, and you tell them, I can sell you a solution. But the reality is, I don't actually want the thing that I sell you to solve your problem. I actually want to just give you enough progress that you trust me and that you feel connected to me, but I want you to still feel like there's something missing and hurting so that I can then say, well, here's the next step I can continue to sell you. And then I have this ladder of offers that I'm going to take you through, right? And most people who are doing this, who are being taught this and then implementing it, they don't know that it's harmful and re-traumatizing to a lot of people who have experienced trauma, which is everyone. They're doing it with the best of intentions, and it's what they're being taught to do. So part of what we're doing with Big Brave Business is kind of like uncovering those things. So it's like, hey, there's a better way. Yeah. Like there's always a better way. And we don't have to all keep just walking around being traumatized in our like capitalist society. This is deep, Taylor.
No, this is awesome. This is very cool. No, I loved it. You know, because like obviously I'm in marketing, and so you know we always do say you need to start with the problem. You do answer, you know, what is the problem? You need to present what the problem is. So now I'm feeling like I'm part of this problem, but
we all are, and just being aware of it is a big step.
Yeah. But I do think, though, there is some validity, though, to saying, like, I have a solution for you. I think the difference is, though, are you being a Band-Aid or are you truly being a solution? And
definitely that's part of it.
And I think as long as you're being a true solution, you know, there are problems and there are solutions to problems, and we need to be those solution-oriented businesses. But you're right. The, you know, fish oil salesman, the, you know, let me just give you another Band-Aid that's just going to fall off. You know, that's not a good tactic.
And give you advice that's going to further hurt you. Like, for example, there's this kind of trope of, or if you want to attend Tony Robbins, if you want it badly enough, you'll sell your car in order to go. Like, most of the people who need your help the most, like, really need that car. That's not good advice. Like, so, and I think we see this a lot. And so that's like a good way to see, yes, your offer has to solve a problem. That like is definitely true. If you have an offer that's just like, we just like it, then it's not going to get anywhere.
You're not going to last long.
Yes, a good offer has to solve a problem, certainly. But I think the difference is, like, are you leading with shame or are you leading with consent? Right? Are you leading with like guilt? Like, this is your fault? Or are you leading with like, no, here's all the reasons why I understand and empathize with exactly where you are right now. And here's how we can work together to make that look better. Right? Like, and here's results that I've helped get. that I can give you examples, social proof, right, of how I can really help I've helped other people. I can really help you. So it's not I want to make you feel terrible. Now, don't you want to buy from me? Right?
Yeah, no.
But you see that even on billboards, right? Summertime, especially, talking about your beach body and if you just watch commercials, capitalism is built on, or at least our current state of capitalism. I guess it's debatable of capitalism as a whole, but it's based on this idea of I want to make you feel terrible so that I can sell you a solution.
Yeah, that's true. That's basically the news. When you look at the news, it's all very negative, and I think it just makes it easier to control people, perhaps, if there's a little bit of a state of fear. Yeah. So in a more positive light, tell me about a podcast that you helped launch. What's one of your, obviously I'm not going to say choose your favorite per se.
Yeah, that would not be possible.
But just tell me one that you thought was very unique, perhaps, that you were able to help launch that, without your expertise, that person might have been like, there's no way I can have a podcast on XYZ content.
One of the ones that has been so incredibly cool to watch is called Launch Your Box. And the host is named Sarah Williams. She is a subscription box coach. So she helps people start subscription box-based businesses or add subscription boxes to their existing businesses.
That is so cool because it's such a cool trend these days. I feel like, I've been a Melaleuca customer for many, 10, 15 years. And I feel like when I was first telling people about Melaleuca, they're like, you're getting soap mailed to your house? That's weird, why would
she calls it Happy Mail.
It is. Trust me, when I get that Melaleuca box, I'm like, yes, I got my coffee.
Exactly.
And so, but, 15 years ago, that wasn't so common. Now, especially since COVID, it was like, I get my food delivered, I get my clothes delivered, I get my, anything delivered. Yeah. So that is so cool, though.
The reason why I think it's as cool as it is because she runs multiple 7-figure businesses. And when she came to me, and I was very early, and Podfox wasn't even called Podfox yet, she was terrified to use her voice in this new way. And I'm sure this is something you've experienced with video too. People who are so confident and are achieving these unbelievable things. And then you put them in front of a microphone and they just are I'm freaking out. I'm sweating. This is so terrifying because you're vulnerable. You're vulnerable when you're using your voice in a new way. So it's been a really fun journey because she was definitely in her own head and afraid and had imposter syndrome and all these things. And of course, now she has a globally ranked top 1% podcast in the world. And it's one of her favorite things. Too. And one of her favorite things about her business. And seeing how that confidence has grown and knowing I've gotten to help make that journey possible for her is really, really fun.
Yeah, I think, we probably both are a little bit of, therapists when we're doing recording sessions. And so what are some things that you do in order to calm people when they're recording if they are feeling a little nervous?
Yeah, I think that this, for me, really depends on the person. There are people who I've worked with who I'm watch something really funny before you record, listen to your favorite comedy or watch your favorite comedy show or something, because you'll feel funnier when you get on to the mic. Some people, it's take a shot, listen, just take the edge off. If that's what works for you, go have a good time. Yeah. Definitely. And then there are other people that it's go for a run right before, or jump on a trampoline, right? Whatever, different things work for different people. And I think, you've got to tap into that person, what makes that person, really it comes down to, it needs to be fun. You need to feel like you're having fun. So for me, I love to talk. It's fun to say, you can ask me anything and I have a good time talking about it. Not everybody feels that way. So figuring out what makes it fun for them, that's sustainable too. Because if it doesn't feel fun, you're not going to keep doing it.
And that's where they probably only do the 11 podcasts and then they're done. And
that's a big part of it.
I think that almost like a prereq. If you don't enjoy talking, maybe having a podcast or show is not quite for you, is what it's feeling like.
It depends if you can get there, right? Can you get to the point where you can have fun? If you just really hate it, then hate talking, especially to other people, then that it's not probably not ever going to be fun for you. That's fine. Right. But some people might like more doing solo episodes where they can just kind of be a hermit and do their own thing. Some people might like more, well, if I have somebody with me, then at least that is just hanging out with a friend. I mean, that's how I treat my podcast. It's expanding my friend network with the people who I most would want to be friends with.
It makes it so easy just to have a back and forth dialogue. Yes. I couldn't imagine trying to just having that dialogue by yourself. I probably could,
You definitely could, especially with what you do with video. You definitely could, but you should do what you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. So I typically always ask, like, what's your favorite animal with a tail? Is it a fox or do you have a different favorite animal with a tail?
I feel like at this point I kind of have to say a fox
You don't
because
have to say
it's such a huge, exciting, wonderful, beloved part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it's become a lot more a fox, but no, before that I would probably say like a house cat.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
Definitely team cat.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are team cat too. I always feel like we need to keep tallies now. Is it team dog or team cat? There's definitely been some varieties. We've heard elephant though, which is fun.
That's fun.
Yeah,
That's a fun answer.
Right? A teeny tiny little tail. So it's still counted though. That's excellent. No, I'm definitely team cat as well. So actually, I got cats on my socks right now.
Team
Yes, I do.
cat people find each other.
Yes, they definitely do. So how many do you have at home?
2.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Yes, I have a Xena and a Dash.
Oh, Huxley and Marlowe.
Huxley and
Yeah, I do themes typically with different iterations of animals. These are writers.
Oh, I was saying Alex Huxley, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I recognized that one. I thought so.
Yeah. Not
Excellent.
because I particularly love Aldous Huxley. It just makes a good cat name.
Okay. So on the lines of authors, then, what's the favorite tale you've ever read
Oh, that's a
or listened to? Because I love Audible.
Yeah, me too. That is a lot. I love to read. I know there are some people who read a lot more than this, but last year I read 74 books. So like love to read. I don't think I could pick just truly a favorite, but I will say one of my top reads in the past year is Women, Money, Power by Josie Cox. And it is the history in the United States of women and work. And I mean, I feel like it should be required reading. It just came out in 2024, so it's also current. And I think that my biggest takeaway from that has been how recent everything is that's happened, and kind of having this reality check that the people who are in positions to make decisions at the top of our biggest companies in government, et cetera, are people who have been in business for a large majority of that history. So their perspective is going to be very skewed and very biased because, for example, they'll still remember a time where like women didn't have access to restrooms in their office building, right? So obviously when they're making decisions about, inclusive decisions or whatever, it's going to skew their perspective.
Excellent. What was the title of that again?
Women, Money, Power.
Women, Money,
Great
Power.
name.
Yeah, no.
Josie Cox.
Okay, we'll also have a link to that here in the show notes.
And I listened to it.
Okay.
So it is on Audible.
Yes. I know. As much as I talk about Audible, like you guys better become a sponsor eventually because I way talk about it too much. But Audible is such a good tool. When you're driving or for me, when I'm trying to put my daughter down to sleep, I can just have it in my head and just hear a little something.
Yeah.
That's excellent. And then how about visually? What's your favorite tale you've ever watched? So your favorite movie or TV series?
Oh my gosh, Taylor. Okay. I think if I don't know if I can pick one. So I'll say a tried and true. Like I've loved it. It's beloved to me. It's not necessarily that I think it's the best television, but it's part of my personality and it's part of my heart is Gilmore Girls.
Okay. I was like it's building up. Okay, Gilmore Girls.
At this point, it hasn't aged super well. So
I don't know. I know of the Gilmore Girls. Couldn't tell you a name or a thing.
You should watch it. But it's also there's some there's a breastfeeding joke and there's some fat phobia and there's some things that I just think would hit different today than it did when it came out. But they're such a treasured cast. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, Gilmore Girls. All right, very, very cool.
Love it.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of people who truly. I've heard of other people who would listen
Cult
and
classic.
say, yeah, exactly. I wasn't going to use the C word, just given the conversation earlier, but you took it, so there you go.
It all comes back to the same theme.
It does.
And that's what's actually so funny about Big Brave Business and PodFox is that they feel really distinctly separate, and actually they're not at all.
Right? Yeah.
It's really not.
Well, it goes hand in hand. If you're you got to practice what you preach. And so if you're going to tell people like, hey, I can help you have a successful podcast, like you kind of need to have a successful podcast to show like, look, this is how you do it.
Sure.
That's the same reason why we post every Friday, tips on our YouTube channel to show like, look, we can be busy, but still consistently post just like you.
Yeah,
and so you got to practice what you preach. So,
and it's good to experiment too. I think like, you know how it feels when something happens. Like you get a negative comment or a bad review, or you don't have any reviews, or you don't feel like your downloads are the best. I mean, my podcast is great. The 2 shows that I mentioned, the Troop Leader Experience and Big Brave Business, are both ranked in the top 2.5% of podcasts in the world. That's amazing. It's not as big as a lot of the shows I produce for other people. So, I still have that experience of seeing like, what do you have to do to grow it? Taking my own advice, like knowing how it feels to sit down in front of the mic. What happens when an interview is not great? Like, how do you handle all of these different things, right? So I can actually speak to it, from a really personal perspective.
And so along those lines, like what if you are having a bad interview? Like what are some of your suggestions for people to have a successful podcast? What are some of your top 2 suggestions you would give people?
So I would say if you're hosting interviews, then the number one thing, my best, most favorite tip is to start with the most interesting question. So people tend to start with, so tell me about you. And it's like, oh, here's where I went to college. I have 3 kids. I grew up in this town. And it's like, that's your hottest real estate of the episode. And you're spending it on Googleable information, right? So instead, like if your audience could ask your guest only one question, what is that question? And start there and then let the rest of it unfold. Their story is going to come out in the rest of the episode anyway. So it's up to them to share that, right? Like they'll find ways to incorporate that. So that's number 1. And then number 2 is, I'm going to say in the reverse, as the guest, when you're going on someone's show, rather than, you're probably going to get asked that question, tell me about yourself. So one way you can be prepared is to have an idea of what you hope listeners will get out of your overall, and you can collaborate with the host on this, right? Ask them what they hope their listeners will get out of it. And then you can answer that question accordingly. You can skip where you went to college. You can skip, where you grew up. It doesn't matter unless it's relevant to the podcast.
Right. That makes perfect sense. Well, so where'd you grow up?
I actually grew up in a really small town in Pennsylvania, literally called Littlestown. It had 1 stoplight. Like that is the size of town.
How big was your graduating class? 10?
200. But then I moved more than I thought. Yep. And then I moved. I actually didn't graduate there. I moved to Scottsdale at the very end of high school.
Okay.
So very different.
Yes, it sounds
very different.
I bet, because I'm from the East Coast, but my graduating class was like 450, almost 500 about, and but still very rural. But I've been to Baltimore plenty of times, DC plenty of times, New York, all those.
Yep, me too.
Coming here, it was different, but it was super culture shock.
No, my graduating class here was close to 1,200, so it was like completely
the schools here are massive. We have the opportunity of doing the interviews for the Chandler Sports Hall of Fame inductions, and so we get to go to all the different Chandler high schools, and I'm just like truly, this is taken out of a scene of like 90210. Like, their kids are walking outside for their lunches and just all the things. Like, wow. It's so big. Yeah. So what brought, I'm guessing your family then, what brought you to Arizona?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think there's probably a personal story there for like what really led to it. But my mom and I got a fresh start together, just the 2 of us. We had no family here, like didn't know people. We just started fresh and 2,500 miles away. And I think I do have a brother. He's in Texas. I have a father who's in Pennsylvania still. But what it really taught me is that, yes, you really can. You really can do that. Like anything big and brave that you decide you want to do, any fresh start, if you want to start a business, if you want to start a podcast or a video channel or use video on whatever platform you're already on, right? Like these big, brave things, go start over somewhere new. You really can do it. And there are going to be pain points, but like, it's going to end up okay. Like there's no alternative. It's going to end up, if it's, this is so cheesy, but like if it's not okay, it's not the end. Like you just, you really can start fresh. So I feel like that's how it affected me.
That's huge. You said you were a senior when you moved? That's intense. That's an intense time to try to move.
Yeah. I was probably not very pleasant to have raised during that time. But, you know, it worked out okay.
It seems like it's worked out well. And I don't know about you, but I'd much rather be in Arizona than Pennsylvania right now. So
right now, totally. You know, the 100 degrees that lasted past October this year, that was rough. It was a long summer here this past year.
Well, I say with Arizona, you just go from AC unit to AC unit to pool, and, you know, you're good to go. Just take 3
That's true,
showers
but that
a day.
AC bill is...
But then we save it in the winter when we just open a window and then your electric's like
That's
$40.
true. Yeah, I've been torturing.
You know, it all evens out. It all evens out.
I've been torturing my family this winter for that exact reason. I'm like, I'm not turning on the heat.
Yeah. No, we don't want kids to freeze. That is one thing. Kids and fur babies, you know.
Yes.
We don't want them to freeze.
That's what always ends up making me feel guilty is when you have a cat that literally is like, their nose and their ears are cold and they like crawl under your blanket with you and you're like, okay, fine, I'll turn the heat on.
That is typically the sign. Like, oh, wait, you with your fur cold? Okay, I guess we'll turn on the heater to 65.
Yes.
Well, this has been such a pleasure. Like, I really appreciate, you know, you being here and all the knowledge. If you were to give everyone, I know you've already given us a lot of great tips and nuggets, but what would be one last tip you would leave the audience with? It could be an inspiration or anything.
I think the best thing that I can say is that at PodFox, when we were working through the whole branding situation, you know, we really worked on like, what is the mission here? And really at the heart of it is that I believe that podcasting is a great opportunity to build your own platform and use your voice. But at the end of the day, the most important part of this is that your voice matters. So, you know, you have something to say and you have something to offer, and the world is a better place with you in it. So, and I just genuinely feel that. And I think it's so important, especially for entrepreneurs. We like really need to hear that. So I mean it from the bottom of my heart. And that is at the core value of everything that I do.
Excellent. Yeah. So everyone has a story. Everyone's story is valid, and everyone can also learn from each other's stories. You know, so it's just like the old school campfire. You know, everyone gets together just to hear stories from each other. So
it's how humanity has learned and gained wisdom from the beginning of. Almost the beginning of society. Yeah.
Well, it makes us as humans, you know, it's really that big differential is communication. You know, we went from being, you know, monkeys and grunting and then drawing and cave, you know, and it progresses. And that's I feel the only difference between us and animals is that communication factor and being able to collaborate and work, you know, across the aisle from each other. You don't necessarily have a fox working, you know, with a horse per se, but you know what I mean? But in the world, we can have people from all walks of life, all different areas. And I think we all just need to kind of collaborate and work with each other. And that was a little bit out there with that. You got me too deep. This is a very deep conversation.
That's what we do. I think because of Big Brave Business, that is the nature of it. Is like, if you're going to come on the show, which you have to, we are going to get big and brave. If you're not ready to be big and brave, it's not for you, but like we're going in. So it's hard for me not to now in a podcast.
I love it though, because life is big and brave, and you need to be big and brave in life. And so check out Big Brave Business. Where all can we check it out? Where all is it being posted?
Yeah, it's anywhere you get your podcasts, but bigbravebusiness.com has a link to all of them. And, you know, there's also a form on there if you're interested in coming on the show. Season 3 is coming up quick, and I've been doing a lot of planning for what I want that to look like. And I think it's going to be group discussions, which is fun. So rather than just the one-on-one, getting to have you're hanging out with a group of friends talking about a topic. So the form to apply is also on bigbravebusiness.com. And if you're interested in starting a podcast, or if you have a podcast and you're kind of stuck, we do offer strategic consultation as well. So podfoxmedia.com is the best way to find that. And the number one platform that I hang out on is probably Threads. I really like it. But I've also been spending more time on LinkedIn, so you can connect with me there as well.
Yeah, LinkedIn is the best for business to business. I love LinkedIn.
It's growing on me.
Love LinkedIn. So I highly advise for you, especially working with, you know, other businesses, LinkedIn is the place to be. But interesting, first time I've heard someone say Threads is their first. That's
Threads is my favorite.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I don't mind Threads. Threads is fine. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's good.
Well, I'll have all the links in the show notes, so just scroll down to get to all those links, and perhaps you'll have, a plan to start making your own podcast and show. And so be brave, get out there and do it, and, find those people who can partner with you to get it done. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Taylor.
Thank you for watching Tales with Taylor. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the Financial Potion YouTube channel to never miss an episode.